I never thought the smell of fresh-cut lumber could turn into the stench of betrayal so fast. One minute, I was hammering the last nail into the frame of the house I'd poured my soul into, dreaming of my family's pride washing over me like summer rain on the Georgia clay. The next, my father's voice cracked like thunder from the driveway. "You built this for us? With what? Your fairy godmother's wand." And just like that, the porch I'd crafted with my own blistered hands became my exile, a splintered throne where I sat alone, watching the life I'd rebuilt for them crumble into the dumpster I dragged to myself. It started 2 years ago, in the sticky heat of an Atlanta summer. When I was 24 and still clinging to the scraps of approval my family tossed me like yesterday's cornbread. My name's Anthony Hayes, born and raised in the sprawl of East Point, where the airport's roar drowned out the whispers of small-town judgment, but never quite loud enough. Dad was a mechanic, hands black with engine grease, fixing up old Fords in a shop that smelled like oil and regret. Mom waitressed at Waffle House, her laugh a forced melody over the sizzle of hash browns, hiding the bruises from Dad's bad nights with the bottle. My little sister, Lila, was the golden child, straight-A student, cheer captain, the one who got the hugs and the "I'm proud of you"s. Me, I was the fixer, the one who patched leaks in the trailer roof with duct tape and prayed the storms wouldn't rip it away again. I knew I was different from the time I was 12, sneaking peeks at the boys' soccer team in gym class, my heart pounding harder than my sneakers on the field. But in our Baptist household, where Sunday sermons hammered home, love the sinner, hate the sin like it was gospel truth, I buried it deep. Buried it under football practices I hated, under dates with girls from church youth group that ended in awkward silences and my stomach churning. By high school, I convinced myself it was a phase, a devil's whisper I'd pray away. College at Georgia State was supposed to be my escape, urban studies major, dreaming of designing sustainable homes for families like mine, the ones teetering on the edge of eviction notices. But freedom came with a price tag I couldn't pay, so I dropped out after 2 semesters, slinging burgers at Crystal's to keep the lights on at home. That's where I met David. He rolled up to the drive-thru one rainy Tuesday, his beat-up Toyota Camry sputtering like it was on its last breath. I leaned out the window, sliders in hand, and caught his eyes, hazel, flecked with green like the ivy creeping up the brick walls of Piedmont Park. "Rough day?" I asked, nodding at the wipers slapping against the downpour. He grinned, that lopsided smile that hit me like a freight train, and said, "Only if you count getting dumped by my roommate's sister as rough." She said I was too sensitive, code for not man enough, I guess. We talked for 10 minutes while his fries got cold, about everything from the Falcons' losing streak to how he just moved here from Nashville for a graphic design gig at a startup in Midtown. David Ellis, 25, with tousle brown hair that begged to be ruffled, a tattoo of a compass rose on his forearm from a road trip across Route 66, and a laugh that echoed like wind chimes in a breeze. He was out proudly, unapologetically, having come to terms with it in college at Vanderbilt, where queer alliance meetings were as common as tailgates. Me, I was a ghost in my own skin, nodding along as he shared stories of his first Pride parade, the rainbow flags waving like promises I couldn't yet claim. We exchanged numbers under the guise of him needing car repair tips. His Toyota was a lemon. He joked, and by Friday, we were grabbing beers at a dive bar off Ponce de Leon, the kind with peanut shells on the floor and jukebox tunes from Springsteen to Sam Smith. Those early nights blurred into something I couldn't name at first. We'd wander the Beltline after his shifts, the path lit by string lights and the hum of joggers and dog walkers, talking about dreams deferred. He wanted to illustrate children's books with diverse heroes, gay dads building forts, trans kids coding apps. I confess my sketches, hidden in a notebook under my mattress, blueprints for tiny homes, eco-friendly escapes from the grind. You're a builder. Anthony, he'd say, his shoulder brushing mine in the crowd. Not just houses, worlds. One night, under the graffiti-covered bridge where the trains rattled overhead, he stopped walking, turned to me, and asked, "What are you so afraid of?" My throat tightened. The words myself lodged like a splinter. Instead, I kissed him. Soft at first, tentative, tasting of IPA and possibility. His hands on my waist felt like coming home, and for the first time, the knot in my chest loosened. But secrets have a way of festering in the Georgia humidity. I kept this hidden, text deleted. Meetups in coffee shops far from East Point. Excuses about overtime when I'd slip out to his apartment in Inman Park. A cozy walk-up with exposed brick and shelves of dog-eared Vonnegut novels. David didn't push. He understood the weight of family expectations. His own folks back in Tennessee being the live and let live types who'd send him a rainbow cake for his 21st. Still, guilt gnawed at me like termites in old pine. Lila noticed first, cornering me in the kitchen one morning over Mom's week Folgers. "Who's the guy, Aunt? The one making you smile like that?" I brushed it off, just a buddy from work, but her eyes lingered, sharp as the pocket knife Dad taught her to whittle with. The idea for the house hit me like a revelation during a late-night call with David. We've been binge-watching HGTV reruns, mocking the over-the-top reveals, when he paused the screen on a family unveiling their renovated forever home. "Imagine if you did that," he said, propping his head on his hand. "For your folks. Show them you're the rock they need." It crystallized everything, my skills from community college workshops, the savings I'd squirreled away from double shifts, the plot of land Dad had inherited from Grandpa Hayes, a scrubby acre on the outskirts of Decatur, overgrown with kudzu and memories of summer barbecues before the divorces and the debts. I'd build him a house. A real one, 2-story craftsman with a wraparound porch, solar panels, and a kitchen big enough for Mom's cast-iron skillet feasts. It would be my apology, my proof. See, I'm worth keeping. I'm the son who provides, who fixes what breaks. I pitched it over Sunday dinner. The table's sticky with fried chicken grease. Dad nursing a Budweiser. "I've got the plans drawn up," I said, sliding over the binder of sketches, my voice steady despite the sweat beading on my neck. Modular build to keep costs down, energy efficient. We could break ground in a month. Silence stretched like taffy. Then Mom's eyes welled up. "Oh, honey," she whispered, squeezing my hand. Lila hooped, hugging me sideways. Dad grunted, flipping through the pages. "Ain't bad, boy. But you sure you can pull this off without some fancy degree?" It stung, but his nod, barely perceptible, was gold. For the first time, I felt seen. Not as the quiet kid who fixed bikes for neighbors, but as the man who could lift us all. Construction became my religion. I'd rise at dawn, coffee black as the clay soil, driving my truck, loaded with lumber from the Home Depot in Stone Mountain, to the site. David helped on weekends, his graphic design flexible enough for volunteer hours, we joked. He'd wield the circular saw with surprising ease, his tank top clinging in the heat, and we'd steal kisses behind the half-raised walls, the scent of sawdust mingling with his cedar cologne. "This is your legacy, Aunt," he'd murmur, handing me a level. Those moments were oxygen, fueling the long weeks of solo labor, framing the joists under July's blaze, when the air shimmered like a mirage, insulating against the fall chill. My fingers numb from the fiberglass itch. Lila pitched in too, painting the siding robins egg blue, Mom's favorite, while blasting Taylor Swift from a Bluetooth speaker. Even Dad showed up sporadically, barking orders like "square that corner, son," but lingering longer each time, cracking rare jokes about the Hayes mansion as the house took shape. So did my courage. David and I grew roots, lazy Sundays at the Atlanta Botanical Garden, picnics under the canopy of magnolias, where he'd sketch me reading Hemingway on a blanket, the Chattahoochee murmuring nearby. We talked futures, adopting a rescue mutt, maybe a place in the Virginia Highlands with a garden for heirloom tomatoes. But the deeper we fell, the heavier the lie weighed. One evening, as we lay tangled in his sheets, city lights flickering through the blinds, he traced a scar on my knuckle from a slipped hammer. "When are you telling them?" he asked, voice soft but insistent. I stared at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. "After the house is done. When they see what I can do for us." He sighed, pulling me closer. "Love isn't a transaction, Anthony. It's not something you earn with 2x4s. Winter crept in with its bite, frost etching the windows of the nearly finished home. The crew I'd hired for plumbing and electrical wrapped up, and we scheduled the move-in for New Year's Eve, a fresh start. Dad called it, toasting with cheap champagne at the trailer. Lila was buzzing, planning a housewarming with mason jars of sweet tea and cornhole in the yard. I felt invincible, the porch rails smooth under my calloused palms. The front door, solid oak, carved with our initials in a subtle flourish, swinging open like an invitation to belong. But secrets, like fault lines, wait for the tremor to split everything wide. It was Christmas Eve. The air crisp with pine from the tree mom had wrestled into the trailer's cramped living room, tinsel catching the glow of multicolored lights. We'd hauled boxes to the new house that morning, Lila's pom-poms, Dad's tool chest, Mom's quilt collection stitched from scraps of our old lives. David had begged off, citing a family Zoom with his Tennessee kin. But really, I think he sensed the noose tightening. I missed him fiercely as I strung garland on the unfinished mantel, the scent of Mom's pecan pie wafting from the oven like a promise of warmth. That's when Lila found the photo. I'd been careless, leaving my phone on the coffee table while stepping out for more hooks. She was wrapping gifts, humming Jingle Bell Rock, when the screen lit up with a notification, a selfie we'd taken at the High Museum, David's arm slung around me, both of us grinning like fools in front of a Warhol exhibit. She unlocked it. My passcode was her birthday, a brother's foolish trust, and swiped through the gallery. The gasp echoed like a gunshot. "Anthony," her voice trembled when I returned, the phone clutched in her fist like evidence. I froze, hooks clattering to the floor. "Who's this? And why do you look at him like he's your whole world?" The trailer shrank around us, walls pressing in with faded wallpaper and the ghosts of arguments past. I sank onto the sagging couch, the springs groaning under me. "Lila, it's not," but the lie died on my tongue. Her eyes, so like Mom's, wide with confusion and something sharper, betrayal, pinned me. "David," I whispered finally. "He's my boyfriend." The word hung there, foreign and fragile, like an ornament teetering on the branch. She didn't scream, didn't run. Instead, she sat beside me, the phone between us like a grenade. "How long?" she asked, voice small. 6 months, I admitted, the months unspooling, stolen weekends at Callaway Gardens, where we'd hike trails lined with azaleas, holding hands only when the paths emptied, quiet dinners at his place, where he'd cook gumbo from his grandma's recipe, spice masking the ache in my chest. Lila listened, nodding slowly, tears carving tracks through her mascara. "Does Mom know?" "Dad, no." The single syllable cracked me open. She hugged me then, fierce and sudden, her cheery uniform scratching my neck. "I love you, dummy. But this This isn't a break them. We sat like that until Mom called us for pie. The secret now, a shared fracture, widening with every heartbeat. New Year's dawned brittle and bright. The house moved a whirlwind of cardboard and chaos. Dad drove the U-Haul, cursing Atlanta traffic as we crossed the I-20 bridge, the skyline shrinking in the rear view like a dream deferred. Mom unpacked the kitchen with reverent hands, arranging her Pyrex in the sunlit cabinets I'd built wide enough for her elbows. Lila blasted music, dancing with a broom across the hardwood floors I'd sanded smooth. And me? I floated through it all, a ghost in my own triumph, stealing glances at my phone for David's "proud of you" texts, each one a lifeline. The housewarming was modest, neighbors from the new subdivision, a mix of young families and retirees drawn by the Hayes hand-built home sign I'd hung proudly. Folks milled on the porch with red solo cups of spiked eggnog, admiring the beadboard ceilings and the stone fireplace I'd mortared myself. Dad held court by the grill, flipping burgers with a spatula like a scepter, his laugh booming for once untempered by whiskey. My boy's got skills, he boasted to Mr. Ramirez from next door, clapping my shoulder hard enough to bruise. Could have gone pro if he'd stuck with that college nonsense. The praise burned sweet, a balm on old wounds. And for a moment, I believed it. This was redemption. This was family. David arrived late, fashionably so, in a cable-knit sweater that hugged his frame and jeans faded just right. I'd warned him, keep it light. No touches. Just a friend from work. He played the part. Charming mom with tales of Nashville honky-tonks, helping Lila string fairy lights across the backyard. But his eyes found mine across the yard. A silent question. How long can we pretend? I shrugged it off, focusing on refilling coolers. Until the fireworks started, amateur bursts from the kids down the street, painting the sky in reds and golds. We slipped away during the oohs and ahs, ducking into the unfinished guest room upstairs, the one with bare drywall and a single bulb swinging like a noose. "This place is incredible," he whispered, pulling me into the shadows. Our kiss was urgent, months of restraint unraveling in the creak of floorboards. "I love you," he breathed against my neck, the words a vow. "And I hate hiding." I pulled back, heart hammering. Just a little longer, until they see I'm still me. His nod was reluctant, but then Lila's voice shattered the moment from the hall. "Aunt, you up here?" We sprang apart like teens caught smoking, David smoothing his hair while I cracked the door. She stood there, cheeks flushed from the cold, eyes darting between us. "Everything okay?" she asked. Too casual. "Yeah, I lied. Throat dry." Just showing David the wiring. She lingered, then smiled thinly. "Come down. Dad's telling war stories." As we filed past, her gaze on David's back felt like a brand. The fracture widened that night, after the last guest trickled out and the house fell quiet under a blanket of stars. I was in the garage, stowing folding chairs, when Dad wandered in, a half-smoked cigar between his fingers. "Good shindig, son," he said, leaning against the workbench I'd installed, pegboard hooks for his wrenches, a mini fridge for his brews. "You did right by us." My chest swelled, words tumbling out before I could stop them. "I just wanted you to be proud. To know I'm worth it." He chuckled, low and gravelly. "Worth what?" "This." He gestured vaguely, smoke curling like accusation. "Ain't about worth, Anthony. It's about blood. About carrying on." His eyes narrowed, cigar forgotten. "Speaking of, that Ellis kid. Here." "Buddy," the word slithered out, laced with something ugly. I froze, the chair legs clattering in my grip. "Yeah, Dad." "Friend from the job site." He stepped closer, the garage light casting shadows like bars. Lila said something. About pictures. You and him. Close. My blood turned to ice. The air thick with motor oil and menace. It's not, but he cut me off. Voice rising like a storm front. Don't lie to me. Boy, I seen how you look at him. Like some damn puppy. The cigar dropped. Embers sparking on the concrete. This what you've been hiding? While you build us a castle. The world tilted. The house I bled for closing in like a tomb. Dad, please. I love him. And I love you, all of you. This house. It's for us. He recoiled as if slapped. Face twisting into something feral. Love? That's not love. That's sickness. Abomination. The word echoed. Biblical and brutal. The same one Reverend Hayes had thundered from the pulpit when I was a kid, railing against the agenda invading our schools. Dad paced. Fists clenched. We took you in, fed you. And this is how you repay us. Parading that filth under our roof. I staggered back. The workbench digging into my spine. Parading? I've hidden everything. For you. Tears burned. Hot and unbidden. He advanced. Finger jabbing like a blade. Hidden? Or schemed. Building this to buy our silence. His voice broke then. Raw with something like grief. Get out. Now. Before you poison this place. The door slammed behind me. The night swallowing me whole as I stumbled to my truck. Keys shaking in the ignition. David's text lit the dash. Miss you already. Call me? I drove blind. Tires chewing gravel. The house, my heart's labor, shrinking in the mirror like a cruel mirage. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving. The kind of January light that leaches color from the world, turning the Chattahoochee River to slate as I pulled into rest stop off I-75. My phone buzzed incessantly. Lila's text a barrage. What happened? Dad's raging. Mom's crying. Call me. I silenced it, curling into the truck's bench seat. The cab reeking of sawdust and stale regret. Sleep came in fits, haunted by Dad's face. The way his eyes, once twinkling over a well-tied fly for fishing trips, had hardened into judgment's forge. By noon, hunger gnawed, but pride kept me parked, staring at the vending machines in different glow. David found me there, his Camry crunching into the spot beside mine like fate's reluctant envoy. He'd driven through the night. Lila's frantic call pulling him from a design deadline. She told me everything, he said, sliding into the passenger seat, his presence an anchor in the storm. I broke then, sobs racking me like dry heaves, his arms enveloping me in the cramped space. I'm sorry, I gasped. I thought. The house would fix it. Make me enough. He rocked me gently, hand stroking my hair. You were always enough. Aunt. They just couldn't see it. We holed up at his apartment for days. The world reduced to take-out Thai and binge-watched episodes of Queer as Folk. Ironic. He noted wryly, for its unflinching mirror to my unraveling. Atlanta's queer scene beckoned like a siren. Flyers for drag brunches at Sister Louise's. Meetups at Blake's on the park. David urged me out, but I resisted. The wound too fresh. Festering with what-ifs. What if I come out in college? What if the house had been enough? Lila's updates trickled in. Mom bedridden with flu. Dad drowning in silence. The new home echoing with ghosts. Betrayal came not from Dad, but from the one I trusted most. A week in, Lila showed up unannounced, her Honda Civic idling outside like a getaway car. She looked smaller in the doorway, sheer ponytail frayed, eyes red-rimmed. Can we talk? David brewed tea, chamomile, her favorite, while I braced on the couch, the air thick with unspoken indictments. She sat primly, clutching a manila envelope like a shield. I didn't want to do this, she started. voice quavering. But Dad, he's falling apart. Selling tools to pay bills we don't have. The house, it's tainted now. He says, my gut twisted. Tainted? I built that with everything I had. She winced, sliding the envelope over. He found your notebook, the sketches, and the letters. Letters? Ice flooded my veins. Tucked in the blueprints were notes I'd scribbled for David. Love letters. Really? Penned in stolen moments on sight. Your laugh is my North Star. Build a life with me? I meant to burn them, but exhaustion had won. Dad must have rifled through my truck after the fight, piecing together the puzzle of my heart. Lila's confession spilled then. A dam breaking. He confronted me last night. Said if I didn't help fix this, he'd disown me too. Told me to get proof. Make you see reason. Her hands trembled. The envelope's contents spilling, printed texts. The museum selfie blown up like evidence in a trial. I screenshotted your phone that night. For him. To show it's a phase. Something we could cure. The word hung. Violent clinical. Evoking conversion camps I'd read about in hushed online forums. Places where love was beaten out like original sin. I recoiled. The betrayal a blade to the ribs. You? My sister. The one who hugged me. Promise. She sobbed, reaching for me. I was scared. He's our dad. Aunt. And Mom. She whispered once. About Grandpa Hayes. How he lost a brother to that lifestyle in the 80s. It's taking him quiet. Family's all we got. David interjected. Voice steel-wrapped calm. Family doesn't blackmail. Or out someone to save face. Lila fled then, the door clicking shut like a guillotine, leaving me hollowed, the letters curling in my fist like indictments. Rage simmered into resolve over the following weeks. David and I rebuilt in fragments. Therapy sessions at a sliding scale clinic in Little 5 Points, where a counselor named Javier unpacked my people-pleasing like a surgeon excising a tumor. You built a house to buy love, he said one rainy afternoon, rain pattering the window like hesitant applause. But love isn't bricks, it's the mortar of truth. I nodded, the insight sinking deep. Even as doubt gnawed, could I salvage anything from the ruins? Spring unfurled tentative green across the city. Dogwoods blooming in Piedmont Park like fragile flags of truce. Lila's texts evolved from apologies to olive branches. Coffee? Neutral ground? We met at a Starbucks near Emory. The hiss of espresso machines a buffer against the awkward. She looked gaunt. The cheer Captain Shine dulled. Therapy, she admitted over lattes. That made me go too. Turns out, he's terrified of losing you like he lost his own dad to the bottle. Revelations layered. Dad's youth. A closeted uncle's suicide shadowing their Tennessee farm. Unspoken shame fueling his fury. He loves you, she insisted. In his broken way. But he needs time. I wanted to believe her. But trust was a shattered pane. Shards catching the light. David, ever the optimist, pushed for reconciliation, not for them, for you. Close the circle. We plan to visit. Neutral, the house. My house. Now, theirs without me. I arrived at dusk, the porch light flickering like a hesitant welcome. Mom answered, apron dusted with flour, her embrace tentative but warm. My boy, she murmured, and I clung, inhaling the lavender of her soap, the undercurrent of unshed tears. Dad waited in the living room. The space transformed, furniture arranged just so, photos of us kids on the mantel, me at 12, gap-toothed grin, oblivious to the storm brewing. He stood, hands in pockets, the mechanic's grease traded for a button-down. Sit, he grunted, gesturing to the couch I'd upholstered in neutral gray. Silence stretched, taut, as piano wire until he cleared his throat. This place, it's solid. Better than I deserved. Progress. Jagged but real. I nodded, throat tight. I built it for us. All of us. The dam cracked then, his voice fracturing. I know. And I handled it wrong. Lila showed me the letters. Not to hurt, to understand. He pulled a crumpled page from his pocket. One of mine, in your eyes. I see home. Ain't poetry, but it's honest. More than I ever gave you. Tears tracked his weathered cheeks, carving canyons in the stubble. Mom hovered, hand on his shoulder, her own eyes glistening. We were scared, Anthony, of the world out there, the judgments, the losses. But losing you, that's the real abomination. We talked until midnight, halting confessions piling like kindling, his regrets over the bottle, her unspoken griefs from the marriage's fractures, my buried fears of abandonment. No miracles, no instant pride flags in the yard, but a truce, fragile as the first crocus after frost. As I left, Dad clasped my hand at the door. Grip firm. Bring that Ellis boy around sometime. Properly. The words landed like grace. Unexpected and unearned. But peace is a garden, not a gift, tended or it withers. David and I bloomed in the interim, our love no longer shadowed. We adopted Rufus, a scruffy terrier from Fur Kids, who claimed the rug in David's apartment like a king. Summer's mint road trips, Savannah's moss-draped squares, where we'd kiss openly under live oaks, Charleston beaches at Tybee, waves lapping our toes as we dreamed of a life unapologetic. Yet the universe, capricious as a southern squall, had one more twist. It was Labor Day weekend, the air thick with the promise of fall, when a call came. Lila's voice, shrill through the truck's Bluetooth as I merged onto 85 North, en route to a job site in Chattanooga. Aunt, it's Dad. Heart attack. Emery crawl in. Hurry. The world funneled to a pinprick. David's hand squeezing mine from the passenger seat. Rufus whining from the back. We blew through yellows, horns blaring our urgency, the skyline blurring into a watercolor smear. The hospital was a labyrinth of linoleum and beeps, antiseptic masking the underbelly of fear. Mom paced the waiting room, rosary beads clicking like Morse code. Lila curled in a vinyl chair, mascara streaked. He was mowing the lawn, she choked out, clutching his chest, yelling for help. Neighbors heard. My mind reeled to the house. Our house, the John Deere chugging across the nascent yard. Dad whistling off key, a ritual of reclaiming normalcy. The doctor emerged, mask dangling, face etched with the practiced neutrality of bearers of middling news. Stable. Widowed artery, stent placed. But he was lucky. Stress. They say. Bad habits. His eyes flicked to us. Implication hanging. The emotional seismic shift we'd triggered. Guilt coiled in my gut. Serpentine and cold. Had our reckoning pushed him here? David's arm around my waist grounded me. A silent we did this together. Dad looked small in the bed. Tubes snaking like accusations. Monitors beeping a metronome to his fragility. His eyes fluttered open, finding mine across the sterile gulf. Knew you'd come, he rasped, voice gravel over sandpaper. Mom bustled forward, fluffing pillows, but he waved her off. Sit, son. The word son landed heavy. Reclaimed. I perched on the bed's edge, the mattress dipping under me. I'm sorry, I started, but he shook his head, for lines swaying. Don't. I pushed too hard. Always have. His hand, papery now, covered mine, calluses softened by hospital soap. That night, I saw red. Thought of my uncle, Tommy. He was like you, loved a man. Quiet like. Family turned on him. San Francisco swallowed him whole. Then the sickness. I swore I'd protect you from that. The confession spilled. A lifetime's dam breached. Tommy's letters home. Burned unread. Dad's vow to man up the family line. Armoring himself in silence. But protecting ain't hating. I got it wrong. Tears blurred the monitors. His grip tightening. The house. It's yours. Half. Legal. You built it, heart in hand. I shook my head, throat convulsing. It's ours. All of us. He smiled then, faint but genuine, the first unclouded since the fight. Bring David in. Properly. David entered hesitant. Rufus's leash in one hand, a styrofoam coffee in the other, black. 2 sugars. Dad's vice. The room tensed, then softened as Dad extended a hand. Heard you fixed that Toyota. Good man. David clasped it, hazel eyes steady. Tried to. Mostly just kept it running. Laughter bubbled, ragged but real, cutting the tension like a knife through fog. We talked, halting at first, then flowing, David's Nashville roots, Dad's garage tales, shared gripes over the Braves' bullpen woes. Mom and Lila watched, a quiet thawing in their postures, the family not restringing, thread by fragile thread. Recovery was a marathon, not a sprint. Dad came home to the house, our house, a month later, Walker clacking on the porch he'd once condemned. Physical therapy sessions became family affairs, me spotting his lapse in the yard. David designing motivational posters with puns like, heart strong, one step at a time, Lila cheering like it was regionals. Mom cooked heart healthy, grilled salmon instead of bacon grease, but sneaked pecan pie on Sundays, winking conspiratorially. The climax, if you can call healing that, unfolded at Pride that June. Atlanta streets pulsed with color, floats thumping bass-heavy anthems, rainbow crosswalks slick with confetti rain. I'd hesitated, the crowd a crush of vulnerability, but Dad insisted go. Show Hayes' blood runs true. He and Mom stayed home with Rufus, promising pie for the after-party. But Lila marched with us, her sign reading ally by blood, family by choice. David and I wove through the throng, hands clasped openly, his compass tattoo catching the sun like a beacon. Under the arches of the Fox Theater, amid the roar of cheers, he dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but with a sketch, our house, reimagined. A addition, a studio for his illustrations, a workshop for my designs, flanked by a garden where dogwoods would bloom eternal. Build this with me, he asked, voice lost in the din but clear in his eyes. The crowd hooped as I pulled him up, kissing him fierce and free, tears salting our lips. Yes, 1,000 times. We didn't erase the scars, the misunderstandings that scarred deeper than any hammer blow, the betrayals that lingered like faint echoes. Dad never fully shed his Baptist armor, attending a PFLAG meeting once, grumbling about hippie talk, but showing up to the next. Mom hung a small rainbow magnet on the fridge, subtle as her quilts. Lila dated a guy from her nursing program, but advocated fiercer, volunteering at the Outright Center. As for me, I design now sustainable homes for queer youth shelters, tiny sanctuaries in the sprawl. David illustrates our story in a children's book, The House That Love Built, about a boy who hammers his truth into walls that hold everyone close. We live in the Virginia Highlands, windows open to jazz spilling from the velvet note, Rufus snoring at our feet. Some nights, driving past the old site, now fully ours, lights warm in the windows, I feel the weight of what was lost, innocence, illusions, the boy who thought love was earned. But what rose from the ashes? A family reforged, not in silence, but in the messy grace of speaking wounds aloud. Being gay didn't seat me by the trash. It cleared the table for a feast of real belonging. And in America's heartland churn, where thunderstorms brew and break, that's the truest homecoming. In the end, it's not the house that stands, but the hands that built it, scarred, steady, unashamed.